They say the true test of your character is who you are when no one is watching, how you respond in times of crisis. Well, 12 days ago, the people of Ravenshoe in far north Queensland showed they're made of extraordinary stuff. When an out-of-control ute hit a gas bottle, causing an almighty explosion in the local café, people and debris were sent flying. But the first reaction of the locals was to put themselves in harm's way. Some braved the flames and the risk of another blast to pull survivors from the wreckage. Others rushed to help the injured. This is the story of a very special town where the locals have looked each other in the eye and said, "You can count on me."
I looked over to my left and saw the four-wheel drive just careering out of control. It was a huge explosion, huge fireball. There was that much power behind it. It was just like a great big whoomp.
The whole building seemed to shake. Those people came out 5, 6 foot high off the ground. You'd see the gas rolling along the roof, igniting as it went.
By the time we got there, some of the people were still smoking. Yeah, bits falling off them. It was just stuff horror movies are made out of.
The community they just worked as a team.
Everyone came together in that moment.
It was an amazing effort.
Some good comes out of everything. And, hard to think something good's going to come out of this, but it will.
Ah, dear.
In the green hills of the Atherton Tablelands in far north Queensland, there's no shortage of tight-knit communities. But with a population of 900, few have shown their mettle quite like Ravenshoe. It was a regular Tuesday in this quiet country town, but just after midday, the local cafe was unusually busy. A respite group had dropped by to have lunch with a couple of firefighters. Two sisters were celebrating a birthday. And in the kitchen was Nolene Avenel, the cook, and Nicole Dempsey, who was looking after the place while her parents holidayed overseas. Across the road, artist Eric Belodis is manning the local art gallery.
Which would you like?
At the butcher shop, Dick Jensen and his sons Graham and Stephen are hard at work. And right next door to the cafe, Edgar Grigg and sister Jan are busy running the bakery. It's 12:04, a minute before the blast. The bakery's security cameras capture the milkman finishing his delivery. And out front, locals are enjoying a coffee. What you can't see, but the man in the black t-shirt can, is a ute careering out of control. It slams into the side of the cafe. 4 seconds later, a ruptured gas cylinder explodes with incredible force. When you raced outside, what did you see?
People with skin just melted off them. And some people, even though they were on fire, were in panic too. They run up the street.
I just can't imagine what it must be like to see someone on fire.
It's not good when you've got sort of nothing to help them with. It just seems so useless, sort of.
We just saw the smoke and people screaming, and there was people starting to run across the road away from the building. Yeah, chucked the knives and the apron off and went for it.
And Dick, one of the first people you saw was a good friend of yours, a local firefighter who'd been inside the cafe. You didn't even recognise him.
Never recognised him, like mega burns on the face. Basically, like the uniform was still on the front. But basically all the back of the uniform was gone. Lumps of skin falling off him, bits of burnt rag falling off him. Just unbelievable.
There's a lot of people just, you couldn't tell who they were. Like, no hair, still sort of half smoking, no clothes. Just you didn't notice who they were.
The butcher Dick Jensen is in the red T-shirt with his sons in tow. With no regard for their own safety, they head straight into the burning cafe looking for survivors, as did so many others, among them Eric Belodis.
Saw a lady coming towards me, crawling out, screaming for help. She had fires, just small fires all over her. Most of her clothes were burnt off or blown off. Hair was on fire, burning into her scalp. I threw my jacket over a few times to put the fires out.
People were calling for water, so we grabbed the fire hose, ran it through the front of the shop and started to damp people down.
Others grab buckets, bottles, anything they can find to cool the burns. In the chaos, no one can find Nicole Dempsey, who was running the cafe. Cook Nolene Avenel is also missing.
By the time I got to the back of the shop, we could hear somebody calling for help. And we've got a little garden hose there that we ran out.
You were at the back of the building and you could hear screams coming from inside.
Yeah, just help, help, help. And yeah, you could tell it was a female voice, and yeah, you couldn't see anybody.
I could hear somebody screaming out, there's still somebody inside, there's still somebody inside, but other people were saying, keep away, you know, keep away, there could be another explosion inside. I just immediately run in.
You ran into the burning building?
I had to do something. And the lady was sitting on the floor screaming, and she was sitting with the legs out in front of her and her arms out like this. And she said, "Don't grab my hands," dragged me out. So I did. I grabbed her by the ankles and I started dragging her out.
It was Nolene, and Eric was one of 3 men who dragged her to safety. Nicole, with burns to 80% of her body, had managed to walk out of the cafe. She was being treated at the scene when her friend Nicola discovered her.
I went looking for her and I found her, and she saw me, and those tears came down her face and she said, "I'm really hurt, Nick." And I'll never forget it. I went into, okay, well, what do we need to do to get you okay here? Because I just need to know which point to start with.
The vibrant mother of 2 was the heart of Ravenshoe, the first to lend a hand in a crisis. That she was able to rescue herself came as no surprise to her younger sister, Michelle. Despite her burns, she was able to walk herself out of that cafe.
Yeah.
What does that say about her determination and her courage?
That's exactly her. She would never give up on anything, so she wasn't going to give up on that day. She's going to do everything she could to get out of there and get back to everyone. And yeah, doesn't surprise me when they said that she walked out of there. I don't know how she did it, but it doesn't surprise me.
With everyone now out of the building and being treated, only the driver of the ute remains trapped. But time is running out for 60-year-old Brian Scutt, a stockman and regular at the cafe. How this all unfolded beggars belief. The ute has mounted the curb at high speed before glancing this telegraph pole. One of so many obstacles that should have brought it to a halt that day. The café is still 200 metres away. The ute has then clipped the underside of this tree branch before ploughing over the council sign and crossing the side street. From there, it's missed a few more trees, the public toilet block, before slamming into the side of the cafe and puncturing one of two 490-kilogram gas cylinders.
We've got two large cylinders. One's been driven into the building by an out-of-control vehicle and it's sitting in flames.
The driver's door was jammed. You couldn't tow him out. The ute was on fire. Brian was on fire. It didn't cross your mind to give up?
No, not while he's still kicking. You got to give him a chance. So.
How much longer do you reckon he would have had?
Oh, he might have had a minute or something.
All the while, the burning ute is jammed up against the second gas cylinder. Nearly half a tonne of liquid gas. It's a ticking time bomb. You grabbed the garden hose. Why?
Yep. Because the extinguisher only lasted about a second and there was nothing else, so there was nothing else. I mean...
Keith Guyot had raced across the road from the Foodworks supermarket. Right from the start, he recognised the danger, hosing down the gas bottle to keep it cool. It took real guts to do what you did.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think just something you do.
For someone to stand there beside that when it could have went at any time with the garden hose of all things.
Unbelievable. Just, you know, no thought for himself, but he knew keep it cool, keep the flame away. And he just stood there.
He's basically
and he stayed there, and he stayed there.
What would have happened had that gas cylinder gone up?
I say it would have levelled Ravenshoe. There wouldn't have been anything left.
Dick, did you think about your safety or the safety of your boys?
No, at the time I didn't. Afterwards, I was sort of, that could have been gone. Sorry.
That's right.
Like, at the time, I don't know if it's adrenaline rush or, yeah, you do what you got to do. Yeah, the consequences could have been pretty dire for all of us.
Basically looked like a war zone. People lying, people standing, people staggering around, people walking people around with sheets and towels over their faces and heads.
Daryl Thompson was the only paramedic working in Ravenshoe that day, in charge of a makeshift triage. At least 100 locals joined the medical effort, dousing the 21 injured with water and wrapping them in cling wrap to prevent infection and fluid loss. So even though you were the only paramedic on the ground here for the first 15 minutes, you had an army of helpers.
Absolute army. People have made a big thing of the fact that I was here, you know, all by myself. No, I wasn't. I didn't feel like I was by myself at all.
Could you have done it without the locals?
No. It would have been... It was absolutely impossible.
The town fought so hard. But tragically, 2 days after the blast, Nicole Dempsey, the 37-year-old mother of two, succumbed to her injuries. How hard would she have fought, Michelle?
She fought so hard. She fought. She couldn't have fought any harder. She honestly couldn't. She's the best mum, she's the best wife, she's the best daughter, she's the best sister. She's the best friend. She was everything.
It's tough, isn't it?
It is. It is. You're meant to have your sister forever. Big part of my life missing now. But I've got a lot of memories with her and I'll keep remembering them. Yeah.
Nicole is not the only one to lose her life. 82-year-old grandmother Margaret Clark has also died from her injuries. With 5 others in a critical condition, the town is steeling itself for yet more loss.
All these notes from people. I wish I had a magic wand that could take away your pain.
It really gets to you, eh?
Yeah.
There's no doubt that terrible day tested Ravenshoe like never before. But the people of this town can be proud. In their darkest hour, they stepped up with a strength and courage they'll need in the months to come.
How do you think this has changed the town?
I think it will make us a lot closer, a lot tighter. Like, those poor buggers that are hurt and are coming back, they're going to need a tight community. Ravenshoe's had a few hidings, but I think this has been the biggest one. It's going to have far-reaching effects. It's, you know, it's, well, we will ultimately get over it, but it's going to take a while.